So anyway, I just got done reading some more of my book, which, by the way, I finally got the actual copy of the other day, and I've been reading on it. It's been very fascinating. I read the chapters of 9/11. I don't know why I said chapters, there's only one. I read the chapter of 9/11. Just got done reading the chapter about Afghanistan. Now, I understand President Bush had to do a lot of, they were unprecedented times after 9/11. So I understand that President Bush had to do a lot of things that really was controversial. I support everything he did to these terrorists. Let me start off by saying that. Everything he authorized to be done to these terrorists, I support. The waterboarding, the enhanced, we're talking torture, negotiations, all of that. It did pay off. It broke up a lot of different potential terror attacks. There was a plan to do a West Coast version of 9/11 that, you know, would have been devastating. I mean, that could have been, I don't know, we just got hit with 9/11. Imagine you turn around and on the other side of the country we have an equivalent to it. Yeah. But no, due to the enhanced negotiation tactics President Bush authorized, we were able to get the information out of these terrorists. I support all that. That's great. One thing I don't understand, he talks about after 9/11 feeling just an intense anger and vowing to do whatever it takes to bring bin Laden to justice and to get revenge for what they did to us. He said he would do whatever it took. So what happened to that? I just got done reading about Afghanistan. I mean, they brought in 13,000 troops. That's it? That's all you're going to do? He said he did that so it didn't look like they were occupying the country. Who gives a shit about how it looks? We just had the worst terrorist attack on our soil in history. The worst terrorist attack in history and on our soil. And you're worried about how it looks to have the proper amount of troops there. I think he just didn't care. He needed to make it appear as though he was responding to the 9/11 terrorist attacks. But he didn't really care. And yeah, he took down a lot of the top people, but where was bin Laden? He said one of his biggest regrets of his presidency was that he failed to get bin Laden. And he said, but it wasn't for lack of trying. He said he tried really hard. Why didn't you do it then? Well, he was very effective in getting Saddam Hussein. It took 1 month to find Saddam Hussein. He never found bin Laden. It took 10 years and a different president to find bin Laden? Where was the expertise that he spent on Saddam Hussein, who did nothing to us? I don't understand what happened to all that anger and vengeance and, oh, how could somebody do this to America? We won't stand for that. And he even admitted in his book that it took years to get the proper amount of soldiers to that country. He was overconfident, too comfortable, thought it would be too easy. Taking out the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, getting bin Laden, and rebuilding the country, rebuilding the Afghanistan nation. He expected that to just be easy. He even said so himself. He really underestimated the entire situation. He had no idea what he was doing. He had no idea what to do. That's the impression I get from this book. And he said that he had NATO alliances there who refused to fight. They were just there, but they wouldn't engage in anything. So what was the point of them even being there? Our soldiers were saying that they were just in the way. Why would the President of the United States, the most powerful country in the world, even stand for that? Why would he not force these other nations why would he not force these other nations to allow their troops to do what they were fucking supposed to be doing there in the first place, or else go home? Trump would never stand for something like that. He would take troops away from them. He would take away funding. He would do something. He wouldn't just roll over and be like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. You do whatever you want. Don't forget, you're the president of the goddamn United States, Bush. Fucking pussy. Look at this cocksucker. Acting like he's goddamn cock of the walk or some goddamn shit. He was a fucking retard. A moron. Look at that shit. Look at that goofy son of a bitch. But, look at him again. He's over here, too. Look at that motherfucker. You believe that bullshit. But, he was awful proud about the amount of money and time he spent in Afghanistan, though, rebuilding that nation. So they had the first, it's good for them. They had the first democratically elected officials, leadership, in their history after President Bush ran the Taliban out of power. And you know what? That's good for the Afghanistan people. We did that. Awesome. But at some point, it's time to go home. And he seemed so proud. Which, it was good that he rebuilt that, set them free. They were under a horrible dictatorship conqueror, whatever you want to call it, with the Taliban. It was good that he removed them from power, sure. But it's not a good thing that he left office with the job undone. He shouldn't have been proud of that, and he seemed to be proud that while he was leaving office, America was getting ready to enter another year and the war of liberating the Afghanistan people. Okay. Now, this year will make 19 years since 9/11, 19 years since we entered the war on terror, 19 years since we entered Afghanistan. You might as well say it's been 2 decades. You might as well I'm just going to go up there and bump it up to 20. It's been 20 fucking years now. At some point, and that point came and went a long fucking time ago. It's time to say, okay, y'all, We did our thing. We helped you out. We did our good deed over here in the Middle East. We can pat ourselves on the back. Look at us, we're fucking great. It's time to go. At some point, it's time to go home. Take care of yourself. You can do it. Do it. You have to be able to do it at this point. It's been 20 fucking years. And if not, fuck you, okay? It's not our job to be there and police your goddamn nation and take care of it for the rest of history? Is that what we're going to do over here in Afghanistan for the rest of fucking history? Thankfully, right now we have a president that's actually doing something. He has done more for negotiating with the Taliban than Bush, than Obama. As far as I know, I don't remember any talks about negotiating with the Taliban with them. They get them to accept the new government, to want peace, to just be like, okay, it's been 20 years, let's move on. And we are making progress with that. We are actually pulling our troops outside of Afghanistan. We are down to 4,000 troops right now. Finally, for the first time in 20 years, we have a president that actually seems concerned about bringing our people home from the never-ending wars. Bush wanted to bring us deeper into it, and he did. Obama wanted to bring us deeper into it, and he did. Trump campaigned promising to bring our troops home, and he is. He's doing it. But I just don't understand. During President Bush's debates with Al Gore back in the day, the first time he ran for president, before 9/11 and all that bullshit, he said he was against using our troops for the purpose of nation building. And he was absolutely right to have that point of view. He was right. And he gets into office, and that's exactly what he does. He uses our troops as nation builders. In Afghanistan, Iraq, all those places. And he said in his book, I watched those debates on C-SPAN or whatever. And I heard him say that, and I thought, well, that's interesting. I wonder what happened to that. He explained in his book what happened to that. He just simply changed his mind. No explanation. He just simply decided, you know what, on second thought, our troops absolutely should be used as nation builders. That's absolutely what they're there for. We should be policing these goddamn places, and that's okay. That's a good idea. Why did he change his opinion? I mean, 9/11 happened, yeah, a horrible thing. But we don't use our troops for that. All he did was bring us into a war that has had no ending. No ending whatsoever. And why is he proud of that? That's not a good thing. That's not something to look back at your presidency and be like, yeah, I did that, and that was a good thing. You got the Taliban out of power. That was good. But at some point, I mean, it's been 20 years. At this point, does he still think that was a good thing? Does he still think it's a good thing that we're there? Now. Still. A war he started, still going on 20 years later. Does he think that's a good thing? Is he proud of that? How could you be? And what's his thoughts about President Trump promising to bring home our troops? What's he think about that? In the book, he describes Camp David, and it just sounds like a beautiful place. He says it's only a 30-minute helicopter flight from the White House, but it feels much more detached from that world than what it actually is. He said it's a 200-acre area. Everybody in the president's family can get their own cabin. There's bowling alleys, there's golf course, there's trails to walk on. Sounds really like a nice place. He said that was one of his favorite things to do during his presidency was spend Christmases there. But it was at Camp David, and there's also an area of presidential offices and conference rooms and all that, and that is where he got together with military folk and his administration and all these people sometime in October or whenever. No, they started planning in September, executed it in October. But anyway, that's where, at Camp David, is where he made the initial plans and had the first talks about what to do in response to the attacks of 9/11. It sounds like a really interesting place, Camp David, a really nice place to be. And, why would you hear that? It was a really nice story, too. Really interesting story. I can just imagine being in that room with these decision makers, making some of the most important decisions that you can really make. One decision President Bush made right off the bat at their meeting was authorizing the CIA, giving them permission to kill and capture Al-Qaeda members without his permission. He was given that as an option, and he said, yes, absolutely, let's do that. Good move. I like that. I mean, he was very tough on the terrorists, and he seemed really right down to business with trying to he genuinely seemed to want to protect the American people and stop another attack. But why didn't he actually... Maybe I'm focusing too much on bin Laden, the founder of Al-Qaeda? But I feel like that would be a very important thing for you to go after instead of focusing on Saddam Hussein. I feel like as president, I would have wanted bin Laden first and foremost. I mean, a very contradictory thing. In his book, he talks about he put a lot of effort and time into trying to capture or kill bin Laden. But I remember news conferences from back in the day where he was asked about any idea about the whereabouts of bin Laden or anything like that, and he actually admitted, he said he has no idea where bin Laden is, and he said, to be honest, I don't spend that much time on him. So how can you not spend much time on him and put a lot of time and effort into finding him at the exact same time? You see, a lot of times I'm reading this book and I'm thinking like, dude, you're full of shit. If you were really legit, we would have seen results. Something. Everything over there was just a gigantic clusterfuck failure. Afghanistan was a half-assed mission. Completely. And no matter what he tries to say in his book to justify and make himself sound good, there's no denying that it was a half-assed effort. He can say, I only sent 13,000 troops in, so it didn't look like we were occupying the country. He could say that, but dude, motherfucker, you're full of shit, okay? You wanted to be tough on these motherfuckers, right? I would think that would be seen as a sign of absolute weakness in the eyes of the enemy. and why he thought that was. And he was so stupid it took him years to correct that mistake. He even admitted that, and I can't believe that. Like, he actually said it was a mistake that took years to correct. Years! I mean, you should know right away, right? That you need more troops than that. But very incompetent. I don't know if you can see him over here. George W. Bush. Very incompetent, very stupid, and very much so trying to make excuses for why he made very bad decisions. I'm not buying it. The next chapter is on Iraq, and I'm looking forward to that. You see, I'm glad you're here. I can always talk to you. I can always count on you to listen. You're very nice. But yeah, the next chapter is on Iraq, where we'll hear all his justifications for invading that country and why Saddam Hussein was so important. I'm making fun of it, but I am actually looking very forward to reading that chapter. I think it'll be very interesting. Even though I'm pretty sure he's full of shit and trying to make excuses for why he made dumb decisions, it's still interesting to get his viewpoint, his point of view, his side of the story. And so I'm finding it all very interesting. I'm going to keep on going, of course. I'm sure after that I'll have more to say, but things about the Taliban under their rulership, whatever you want to call it. Men were required to grow beards at a certain length. Women weren't allowed to leave the house without a male escort family member. Girls weren't allowed to go to school. You couldn't listen to music. You couldn't simple things like going outside and dancing in the street, clapping your hands, flying a kite. They were all banned. So yeah, it was a horrible way of life. And it is a good thing that he got him out of power, but enough is enough. At some point, you just have to call it. Bring our troops home. People are dying in Afghanistan now that weren't even born yet when this bullshit started. How can you die for a cause that you weren't even emotionally invested in? I don't know. Between you and me, I would never go over there and die for another country. You're not dying for this country when you're over there fighting in the Middle East. You are dying for their country. I would never do that. Of course, I would never die for this country either. I am not willing to fight in no wars. But yes, I'm sure I'll have more to say after Iraq.